The Sherman Fairchild Grant was awarded to Barnard this past year, and it supported 15 students here at Barnard in their summer research activities. And we have also decided to use the grant as a starting point for developing a much more extensive summer research institute. I think they find it very satisfying, the feeling that one is making a new contribution to the field is particularly exciting.
We do research on graphene. So graphene is basically, you know, like in your pencil you have graphite, and if you brought that down to one layer thick, it was just one atom thick, then that's what graphene is. And graphene has a lot of really exciting electronic properties, and so basically the main goals of our lab is to use chemistry to control the electronic properties of graphene.
We use Raman spectroscopy, which means we shine a laser on our sample and we analyze the light that scatters off the sample, and that can provide a lot of information about the chemical structure and the electronic properties of the material. And by doing that type of measurement before and after performing some chemistry on the sample, we can learn a lot about how the chemistry has changed graphene's properties.
I don't know, it seems like my research specifically deals with chlorine and graphene, so forming new bonds to graphene with the chlorine, and so that you can tailor it better, and so then you can incorporate it into technology or a bunch of different fields.
In our culture in America and in other Romance language speaking cultures, we find that everything we do is oriented from left to right. So we read from left to right, write from left to right, we count from left to right. So what we're looking at is where this left to right orientation comes from. And does it come from parents and the culture and the world, or does it come from this innate ability to think from left to right?
And that's why our culture is shaped this way.
As a group of RAs a few weeks ago, after reading some articles, we came up with a study. And so in the study, we use these cups. And we have a really special toy, and we always hide it in the fourth cup.
So this is cup number 1, nothing under here. Cup number 2, nothing under here. Cup number 3, nothing under here. This is cup number 4, right? I'm gonna put the toy under cup number 4.
And we want to see when the board game is horizontal to them as opposed to vertical to them, which way they go from. So do they count fourth from the left or fourth from the right to find the toy?
Maura and Naomi are fantastic. There's no layers between me and them. They are mini graduate students, to my mind. Down the road, we'll be looking not only at whether children have spatial numerical relationships, but what are the ramifications of that? If we map space and number, how does that lead to better learning, and in what context?
So honeybees are really important to the U.S. agricultural industry. They are absolutely necessary for pollination of a lot of our crops.
What's happening to honeybees is called colony collapse disorder, and basically what happens is that an apparently healthy hive 1 week will be essentially decimated the next week, and all of the adult bees sort of disappear for reasons that are unknown.
We need to just understand more about how the biological processes in honeybees work to be able to understand, like, maybe eventually, you know, oh, like, how can we help them? Why are they dying?
How can honeybees counteract stresses that are put upon them, such as like damage stressors like pesticides, or even is there anything about the pollen that they're eating? So first we go up to the roof and we kind of capture the honeybees in little like vials. Then I come down and I take their abdomen, and then I do certain procedures on the guts and abdomens.
I will come back to the lab, dissect them. I remove the pollen which they carry on their legs and do different experiments on those.
If we can better understand them, then perhaps we can understand maybe how we can help them manage the stresses better, and then hopefully be more healthy.
This is not a this is not a one-person job.
Yeah.
Okay,
we're
at 62.
Okay,
So
go for it. Okay,
Okay.
pull out.
it's gonna be fun.
What's that?
Yay! Okay.
We are at the Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, which is Columbia's Earth Science campus, basically. It's in Palisades, New York. Martin Stuta, he's the head of the Environmental Science Department. He's also both of our advisors, and he's a really well-known and respected researcher here, so it's really been such a pleasure and honor to work with him.
We are concerned about climate change because we are emitting enormous quantities of greenhouse gases such as CO2 and methane into the atmosphere. So one way to address this problem, and only to make a partial contribution, is basically taking some of these greenhouse gases and letting them not go into the atmosphere but store them someplace else where they don't contribute to climate change. And one of these options is storage of CO2 in the subsurface, and that is called carbon storage or carbon sequestration.
At different points, let's say 50 meters away from it where it's injected 100 meters, there's sampling wells. So we're taking samples from those specific points and testing them for what gases are in there, how much of those gases, what tracer chemicals can we find, what types of carbon are there. And so that's kind of the samples that we're bringing in right now. The goal of the project is to be injecting the CO2 gas and then dissolving it in water, and then it's going to move through the subsurface basically and hopefully partition off into solids, into carbonates. Right now we believe that storing carbon in that carbonate form, in that solid form, is the safest way to kind of move it away from the atmosphere.
Some people sort of consider an intermediate between maybe changing to renewable energies that don't emit so much, so many greenhouse gases. So it's really trying to find a safe way to take care of this problem that we've created.
The students really are involved on the front line of the research effort. That kind of preparation really is ideal to encourage students to undertake a career in science. Women have been traditionally underrepresented in the sciences. We will necessarily increase the number of well-qualified women who go on to scientific careers.